The question no one wants to answer. Have you ever walked into a place and felt a strange sense of déjà vu, like you've been there before but everything sounds slightly different? If a Muslim steps into an Orthodox synagogue, or a Jew watches a traditional mosque prayer, that feeling can be impossible to ignore. No statues, no pork, circumcision as a covenant, strict prayer times, prayer facing a holy city. Even the words for peace, shalom and salam, are nearly identical. At some point, an uncomfortable question has to be asked. Are these just coincidences, or are we looking at something much deeper? Today, we're touching the third rail of religious history. We're asking the question that makes both Muslims and Jews deeply uncomfortable. Did Islam borrow its core ideas from Judaism? Is Islam a completely new divine revelation? Or is it an older tradition, reshaped, repackaged, and universalized for a new audience? Brace yourselves, because the comment section is about to explode. Medina was not a spiritual vacuum. Let's set the historical stage. When the Prophet Muhammad migrated to Medina in 622 AD, he didn't arrive in an empty religious landscape. He entered a city shaped by powerful, wealthy, and literate Jewish tribes. Banu Kainuka, Banu Nadir, Banu Qurayza. They had scripture. They had law. They had centuries of theological tradition. And here's something rarely discussed openly. Islamic tradition itself acknowledges this interaction through a concept called Israeliyat, Jewish origin narratives that entered early Islamic interpretation. Now consider this carefully. Most of the prophets mentioned in the Quran already appear in the Hebrew Bible. Moses, Abraham, Noah, Joseph, David, Solomon, Jonah. If these religions are completely independent, how do we explain this overlap? The believer answers confidently. It's the same God sending the same message to different peoples. The historian answers differently. Muhammad lived among Jews, heard their oral traditions, and absorbed them into a new religious framework. And here's where the tension begins. The Quran doesn't merely retell these stories, it corrects them. It accuses Jewish communities of corrupting their own scriptures and presents Islam as the restored original. So what is this? Divine correction? Or a powerful theological strategy to claim authority over an older religion? Rituals don't lie. If you think the similarities stop at stories, look at practice. This is where things get uncomfortable. The Qibla. For the first 16 months after arriving in Medina, Muslims did not pray toward Mecca. They prayed toward Jerusalem, exactly like the Jews. Only after tensions with Jewish tribes escalated did the direction shift to the Kaaba. So ask yourself honestly, was this a divine command, or a strategic pivot to establish a separate Arab religious identity? The Fast of Ashura. When Muhammad reached Medina, he observed Jews fasting on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. His response? He ordered Muslims to fast on that same day. Later, Ramadan replaced it as the central fast, but the concept remained: total abstinence, atonement, spiritual purification. The roots are unmistakable. Law over belief. No pork, ritual slaughter, purity laws, a detailed legal system governing daily life. While Christianity, largely through Paul, moved away from religious law, Islam ran straight back into it. In structure, in mindset, and in practice, Islam looks far closer to Judaism than to Christianity. So let's ask the question everyone is thinking but few say aloud: is Islam Judaism 2.0 for the Gentile world? The problem cases. No one agrees on. Critics often point to what they see as cracks in the system. Take Haman. In the Bible, Haman is a Persian villain living centuries after Moses. As in the Quran, Haman serves Pharaoh in Egypt during Moses' lifetime. Critics say this is a historical mix-up, oral borrowing gone wrong. Muslim scholars respond that this was a different Haman, unknown to biblical tradition. Others say the name is symbolic. Some even argue the Bible is the one in error. Then there's Mary, the mother of Jesus. The Quran calls her the sister of Aaron. But the only Miriam who is Aaron's sister lived over 1,000 years earlier. Mistake? Honorific title? Metaphor? The debate has never ended, because the implications are explosive. The power move. People of the book. Islam made a brilliant and unprecedented move. It created the category Al Al-Kitab, people of the book. Jews and Christians were recognized, protected, tolerated, but with a condition. Their scriptures were acknowledged, then declared corrupted. Islam positioned itself as the final, unaltered heir of Abraham. Not just another religion, but the correction of all previous ones. This wasn't just theology. It was a claim to the entire spiritual legacy of the Middle East. Brothers who refuse to admit it. Here's the irony. Despite 14 centuries of conflict, Judaism and Islam look like theological siblings in denial. No images of God, Absolute monotheism, law-centered faith, faith proven through action. The resemblance is so strong that medieval Christian writers didn't even consider Islam a new religion. They called it a Jewish heresy. That alone should make you pause. So what's the truth? Did Islam borrow from Judaism? Objectively speaking, the influence is undeniable. What you call it depends on who you are. Believers call it divine continuity. Historians call it cultural transmission. Critics call it adaptation. But maybe we're asking the wrong question. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam aren't isolated inventions. They are branches of the same ancient tree, grown from the same soil. Islam didn't simply copy. It transformed. It took a tribal god and universalized him. It took dense legal traditions and simplified them. It took ancient stories and gave them an urgent Arabian voice. Inspired or derivative? That depends entirely on what you already believe. The comments are already heating up. Some of you are calling this blasphemy. Others are calling it obvious. Good. Argue, debate, bring sources. Just do one thing. Attack ideas, not people. In the next episode, we go even deeper into the family feud that shaped the world. Isaac versus Ishmael, and why it still matters today. Turn on notifications. This series isn't here to comfort faith. It's here to challenge it. See you in the comments.